Hello people out there and welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Seek Your Purpose. This is Mayank Sahara, your host for the show. If you're listening to this podcast for the very first time, then please hit that subscribe or follow button to never ever miss out an episode the time we upload it. Or if you're a regular listener and love inspiring talks that we share on this podcast, then please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and help us grow organically and reach out to the maximum. Now let's get started. Currently, my intellectual self has equipped itself with an amazing life book titled The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. Vishen is the founder of Mind Valley, the school of human transformation, which offers a great range of courses for the upliftment of mind, body, work, and spirit. So although the book is filled with amazing life hacks and lessons, I discovered a phenomenal concept that I felt the need to dig deep down and validate it while reflecting back on the lessons I learned in my life till date. So in this book, Vishen mentioned a catchy word called BLISSIPLINE. That is the discipline of maintaining daily bliss. So it's a combination of bliss plus discipline. That's BLISSIPLINE. And he further suggested ways in which we can uplift our current state of being blissful to a further level up. And one of the practices that he talked much about is gratitude. And I'm very much sure that you must have discovered a lot of concepts, stuffs, ideas, videos, podcasts on this topic of gratitude. And so do I. But when I read this chapter and when I came across the concept in which he explained gratitude, I applied it on myself, and the realizations, the learnings and the personal insights that I discovered later, they were truly awakening and it made me awestruck. The practice of gratitude which he mentions is actually inspired by entrepreneurial coach Dan Sullivan, who talked about a term called switching the gap. Yes, switch the gap. We humans, we are trained to always keep our eyes on the forward gap. That is the gap between where you are now, where you are currently, and where do you want to be, your future version. So let's imagine yourself in the current state and call it a point X. And the future state where you aspire or where you desire to be at point Y. Now the gap between these two, the gap between X and Y, your current state and your future state, this is called a forward gap. That is, you're looking forward into the future and imagining yourself doing and thriving something to achieve the dreams that you have in your mind. The forward gap. Now the problem is, we associate our current state of happiness with this point of achievement, with the point of achieving the future version of ours. And then we tie our joy with the if-then scenarios. For instance, if I'll buy an SUV now, I'll be happy. If I'll buy a house of my own, I'll be happy. Or if I get this project, I will be happy, man. If I'm able to advance my current salary to 5x in the next 5 years, I'll be happy. Or the most common one, if I switch my current job now, I think that I'll be happy. See, here in the forward gap, we have correlated our happiness, our current happiness, with a future state of accomplishment. If I'll do this, then I'll be that. So although this state of ifs and then seems to sound good and is mostly pitched by the experts to be in this state, but it's not the ideal one. No, there's a problem with that. The chase will never end. It's like chasing the horizon. No matter how good life gets, the horizon will always be ahead of you. One happens to slowly develop a state of anxiety, stress, fear and turmoil while always living in this particular state. So instead he suggested looking backward to the past and appreciating how far we have come. And he called it a reverse gap. So that's the opposite to the forward gap, a reverse gap. So the moment when you start feeling depressed or disappointed, look back at the journey covered so far. How far you have come in this course of being a remarkable self. So let's call the current state of yours as point A and the past that you have came from as point B. The gap between these two, the gap between your current version and the version that you were used to be, it's the reverse gap. So looking back at the journey covered so far, it's boosts the trust and utter confidence in you of bending the reality in your favor. You have done that. It's not the first time that you're doing. It's been done before. So then congratulating the tough warrior in you for embracing and overcoming such a demanding situation, all the way leading to the current glorified version of yours. So when you start measuring your happiness from the current state of this reverse gap, you begin acknowledging even the slightest source of inspiration that inspired you when you needed it the most. You start counting in all those moments, those people, those situations, circumstances, incidents that have helped you sail during those tough times in making what you are you right now. And once you start paying importance and relevance to this reverse gap, you start bracing yourself up to embrace the forward gap with all the humility, with all the kindness, with all the gratefulness that you could bring it on to this world by stepping forward towards a bold and an unapologetic version of yours in making. A bold and an unapologetic self. So Vishen wisely quoted the idea of bending reality in your favor, which is to maintain a momentum by being happy in the current state of yours, along with a deep sense of the future endeavor course of life. You have to have both in order to bend the reality in your favor. And once you do this, I'm dead sure that you'll say the luck is all by side and I'm working in tandem with the universe in creating an amazing life and an amazing dent in this universe towards serving a higher purpose of wisely affecting the lives of billions of people around me. Being blissful in the current state, it pumps your heart with gratitude, which fuels up the drive and the intentions and the visions you have in mind. So to be honest, on a personal note, the moment when I came across this concept of switching the gap, every day in the morning since then, while doing a session of gratitude, my morning gratitude, in the end of that, I always say, let's create a life which we are extremely proud of living. So switch your gap. That's the key word. Stay purposed. So that's what I've got for you in today's episode. If you love this episode, if you love the concept that I came on board with you just right now, then please hit that like or subscribe button and do not forget to review us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Your each and every growth, your each and every rate and your reviews and your subscription have made us 75,000 plus listeners strong enough in a matter of just 1 year. I really appreciate you and I'm feeling deeply grateful by expressing this in front of you all. So now let's just step out of that comfort zone of yours, break it apart, and let's seek the purpose that we are destined to in this universe. Take care.